Good morning everybody, it's Johnny Seed here again with another morning ramble. I've just been watching a video on the Retail Archaeology channel about how there's a big chain of stores in America called Best Buy. I don't think we have them over here, but from the video it did look a bit like a Comet or a Curry's, and again, do we still have those? I'm not sure. Anyway, he was saying how the Best Buy are no longer going to be selling music CDs. They are phasing them out. Interestingly enough, they will still be selling vinyl, and that maybe gets wondering whether when big chains like that stop selling compact discs, does that mean eventually they'll become obsolete? Will they no longer be manufactured? And will they no longer manufacture the players? And does that mean that everything that we have on CD will then become unaccessible and unplayable? And if you can imagine a sort of post-apocalyptic future where there is no longer electricity, all you really need to find is a stylus, and you could pretty much rig up your own record player and still be able to access vinyl records and still listen to them, albeit in a very, very lo-fi way. But with CDs you just couldn't do that because it requires lasers and electronics. Is that necessarily a bad thing though? Can you imagine a future where they still sell vinyl but not CDs, and obviously, you know, digital downloads? I mean, CDs, if you think about it, were a little bit of a scam. I remember when they were first announced, when they first came out in the 80s, people were going about how indestructible they were and how they'd last forever and there was no more scratching, but I think we soon realised how wrong that was. But let's face it, the reason why they brought in CDs is because they were a lot cheaper to manufacture, and they could sell them for a lot more, sell them for a premium because it was a new thing, and of course that's how retail works, isn't it? They bring in something new and they sell it at a higher price, and that thing that they bring in new is usually a cheaper thing to manufacture because that's just how everything works. So yeah, are CDs a scam? Do they sound better or worse? That's the thing, they just sound a bit clearer and are less prone to get dust on them. But yeah, probably not as, you know, as we all know, because we like vinyl records, you know, they don't really compare in that respect. Although, you know, you could argue that like classical music does benefit from being in a digital form. So I think that's maybe a debate for another video. But talking about like CDs and things and how they don't last forever, I just happened to pick up one of my old CDRs. This is a disc from 2001. I don't think you can see that, but I've just noticed. So this is what, 17 years old now, and just look at all the holes in it. I don't know if that's. I'm hoping that's picking up. Yes, it's kind of riddled with holes, like a cheese. And because this will no longer play. I mean, I have whatever was on here. It's got CD covers, pictures of my documents on it. Whatever was on here I transferred over to my computer years ago. But yeah, if you had music on CD, and as from a music creator's point of view, if you've recorded your demos and your own music onto CDs, or you've got home movies on a CD, and you know you've had them in the loft in a box thinking they are now preserved and archived forever, you might want to go back and check, because these CDRs, these like home burning ones, they do not have a very long shelf life. I think it's probably about 10 years on average. I mean, some more than others. I know that the ones that you buy in the shops, the pre-recorded music CDs, have a thin plastic layer on the front, which I think protects them. But yeah, but that reminded me of a video I watched a while back by the music producer Steve Albini, and he was talking about how digital recording versus analog recording, and how analog recording will pretty much stick around forever. You know, the master tapes to like music that was recorded in the 60s and 70s, if they're preserved properly, the machinery can always be fixed and updated. You can always create new parts for it, and then you can then, you know, replay those master tapes. They'll, in theory, never go away, or at least last a lot longer. Whereas stuff that's recorded digitally, as soon as the software becomes out of date and the hardware becomes out of date, then that becomes a lot more difficult to retrieve. You know, I mean, I've got stuff that I've recorded on Cubase back in, you know, around 2001, which I can no longer access the original files for because they're in some odd file format, which I no longer use. So that's a bit of an issue, really. You know, if it, well, not for me, but in general for bands, for music that was recorded, you know, between say 2000 and 2010 or whatever. If people don't go back and update the actual raw files, there's potential they could just be lost. You know, or maybe not. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's now time to ditch CDs completely? I mean, have you ditched CDs completely? Do you think how long do you think they'll last? 5 years? 10 years? Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, that was my morning ramble for Saturday, the 8th of 8th of July, is it? Anyway, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.